What is up, YouTube? It is the Ville Outdoors here. Today is July 14th of 2022. For today's episode, I have crossed the border of Pennsylvania into Maryland. I just got a 3-day Maryland license yesterday, although I'm only going to be able to use 1 day of it. And for this adventure, I have chosen to come to Deer Creek in Maryland. It's a tributary of the Susquehanna River. And basically the goal of today is going to be doing some multi-species fishing and catching as many different species of fish as we possibly can, with the goal in mind of trying to come across and catch some new species for my life list. As of now, I'm at 78 different species that I've caught on hook and line. So the goal is to try and up that at all today if we can. I plan on being out here for a while. I packed a lunch and everything. I have multiple different spots along this creek mapped out that we can go to if one's not working out. So hopefully we can catch a good amount of fish today, and hopefully a good amount of species as well. To start the morning, since the sun's not over the creek, it's not really going to be good for microfishing right now, because for microfishing you want the sun to be on the creek so you can really see what you're looking at. And when it's like this, with the shadows still overhanging the creek with the sun not up all the way, it'd be easy to go around walking the creek and miss a darter and a stream riffle or something like that. So we're gonna wait to microfish until the sun is completely up. So to start our morning, we're gonna be using the trout magnet here. I got my Ugly Stik Elite 6-foot fast action rod, Shimano Sedona 2500 reel, and I got my 4-pound Leland Lures S.O.S trout line. And we're going to start by fishing the pools around this bridge here and fishing up around those laydowns here. And it looks like there's a good pool that extends up to some riffles up there. So we're going to be fishing this for a little bit to start our morning and see what comes up. So without further ado, let's get after it and let's have a good day today. Guys, first fish of the day just came up. We got a nice little smallmouth bass here. Oh, and he came off. Oh well, nothing new, so doesn't really hurt as much to lose that one. But first fish of the day here at Deer Creek, and hopefully there'll be more where that came from. That was my first cast into this pool, so there might be more lurking around here. Here you guys, fish on here. It's coming up. Our first actual counted species of the day, since we have a hand on it, is going to be a red breast sunfish, one of the popular creek species in the northeast United States that I expected to find here. There he is. Go ahead and take a shot and release this guy. Alright guys, time to release our red breast sunfish. We're just gonna plop him back in the water here. Alright, he is good to go. Alright guys, waiting for the sun to come up over the creek here to do some micro fishing, and in the meantime I was just stirring up some of this leafy material and real rich soil underneath it, because this got a stone wall right behind it here, and it just collects all the leaves in this corner here from over time blowing down the road, and they just collect all right here. And just stirring up the leaves over here, I found a bunch of worms to use the rest of the day. Should have no problem with bait whatsoever. And there's another one right here. See? Easy way to find worms. Got all these worms here, probably 20 plus, in about 5 minutes or so. So not long at all. Didn't have to pay a dime for them either, other than the drive to get here. But that was for the fishing experience. So it'll balance itself out hopefully. But sun's starting to get higher and higher, so should be time to do some micro fishing soon, and maybe just chunk some worms out there and see what comes up. I know there's supposed to be some species of sucker in here that I don't have on my list yet, so maybe we'll do that if we find a good spot. But just about time to do some fishing down there. All right guys, we got our micro hook tied on there. Got a little tiny piece of worm on there. a split shot clamped on a little bit above that. And then we just have our Tanago hook attached with a barrel swivel there. You see it shaking around. And we're just gonna try and stick this down in the riffles and streams in here and see what we can come up with. Hopefully some new species, but we're just gonna do some exploring. We have lots of different spots to explore today, so let's get after it. All right guys, I finally got my next species for the day. I get my phone out before I show you guys the fish because I don't want to lose them without taking a picture of them. It might just be a mimic shiner and not a new species, but we're gonna take a shot and identify them later. There is that tiny little guy. All right, let's get some more photos and I'll show you guys what he looks like. All right guys, we got a bigger sample here. I believe that's the same species. Could be a spot tail shiner or a spot fin shiner possibly. He doesn't want to stay still. But there he is. Let's take a shot and let's let this guy go. Alright guys, it took me nearly an hour, but I finally got my hands on a darter here. I believe this is just a tessellated darter here. I'm going to take a shot and let this guy go. Oh no! Well, hopefully I can take a picture from the GoPro. That little guy is what we're working with here. That is what all the stress has been about. If this is not a tessellated darter, then it's probably a new species for me, unless it's a little shield darter, which it could be, but we're going to take some more shots and release this guy. Alright guys, after a 40-minute drive, we are at our next spot. This is 24 miles upstream from where I was fishing. And this is still Deer Creek. Deer Creek is 52 miles long. It stretches across Maryland. And I haven't seen much as of yet. The water is a little bit dingier over here. Not sure why that is, because it hasn't rained a whole lot, I don't think. It could just be because I'm stirring up everything, but supposedly down there somewhere is a branch of a different creek that sculpin have been collected at, a species I don't have on my list yet. So I'm going to try and walk down. I don't know how far it is roughly, but I'm going to try and get down there and see if I can find something. Alright guys, I exited the main Deer Creek and I found this little run here. I believe this is called Falling Branch. Interesting name for it. I see some chubs or some shiners or something down there. So I might try and fish for them a little bit and see if I can catch any new species possibly out of here. A lot different territory than what I'm used to back in PA, so you never know what could be in here. So I'm going to try and fish on this side first. There's a little culvert area, and then I'm going to hop over and try and fish this area here. So let's see what we can do. Alright guys, just caught another little micro species here. I think this might be a blunt nose minnow or a creek chub. Not 100% on the ID. I think it's a blunt nose minnow. But I'll get that checked. Dude, will you chill out? I'm trying to get you on camera. There he is. Gonna take a shot of this guy and then we're gonna let him go. Alright guys, I caught one of those chubs or shiners that was in there. Let's see what we got here. Just wait for him to stop thrashing around. I believe this is a river chub, which would be a new species for me. But I'm not 100% sure. So we're going to take some shots and then we're going to let this guy go. Alright guys, last look at our river chub. I believe it's a river chub. I'll leave a caption when I get confirmation on the identification of this guy. But I believe that is our first ever river chub, and that would be species 79. If none of the ones we caught earlier were a new species. To catch that one, I had to up my hook size. It wasn't really taking the bait on the little piece of night crawl I had on there on the Tanago hook. So I upped my hook size and caught that river chub. There was also a trout in there with them. I was going to see if I could catch that. But I'm going to see if I can get another one of those chubs just to get another sample, another picture. Just help with the identification a little bit. Let's see. It didn't take too long to get the first one. And there's one. That's a bigger one. I like that one. Well, in there, boy. Getting out of control. This is definitely not a creek chub. I caught plenty of creek chubs before, and none of them look like this. This one looks definitely like a river chub from the pictures that I've seen. So we're going to take a shot of this guy, and then we're going to let him go. Alright guys, last look at our little river chub there. We're going to hook him and say he is good to go. And I'll probably tie back on the Tanago hook and see if we can find any more micros in here. But the river chub has been caught and collected. That's what I thought was swimming around in there. I could see him up on the road looking down. Like, those don't look like creek chubs. They're either big shiners of some sort or they are river chubs, and turns out they were river chubs. Well, the rest of this creek looks really good, but there's one more spot I want to hit, or want to try and hit. I don't know if it's going to be good or not, but it's 10 minutes away from where I parked. I walked a good bit from where I parked, so I'm going to have to walk back to the main road and then go from there. We'll try and fish a little bit on our way back if we see anything interesting, but we'll walk back to the car and head to the next spot and see if anything good shows up. Alright guys, not a new species for me, but I just caught this a second after I ended that last clip. I believe that is a rosy side dace. Not a new species for me. I caught this before in Delaware, but a cool species to add to our list today. Alright guys, last look at our little rosy side dace. Nice red coloring there on the side. We're just going to toss them back in the water behind us. Alright guys, we have made it to our last and final spot for the day. This is Rocks State Park. This is still Deer Creek that we're fishing, but it's in the middle of a state park called Rocks State Park. Water is clear here, looks pretty shallow. I'm going to wade upstream and see if we can catch any different micro species that we haven't caught yet today. Hopefully a new species will show up, but we can't guarantee it. We can only look around and try to catch one. We don't have too much time to fish at this particular end. I'm going to try and be out of here by 4-ish. This is about an hour and a half, hour 45 from my house. And I have a work meeting tonight around 8, so I wanted to get home in time to have dinner and get cleaned up and all that good stuff. So enough of talking, let's get to fishing, and hopefully we can find some new species out here. Well, it seems that our newly made friend, the river chub, decided to follow us all the way over here. This is our first one out of this section. We're gonna go ahead and take a shot and release this guy. I don't know how well you can see it, but there's a deer crossing the creek right out there, about 120 feet from me. He's splashing off that way, back into the woods. Fish on, guys. Oh boy. This is our good old friend, the fall fish. I started chunking worms to try and catch myself a northern hogsucker, a shorehead red horse, because I believe the shorehead red horse is in Deer Creek at certain places. But instead the fall fish decided to come up, and now we're gonna have to perform a little bit of surgery on them. Almost got it popped out. There we go. Didn't even need the pliers, but there he is. Nice little fall fish there. First one from Deer Creek. He is good to go back in the water. Alright guys, I think that is going to do it for today. It's close to about 3:30. By the time I walk back to my car, it'll probably be around the time I wanted to leave at. Not the greatest day, I would say, out here on the creek, but it wasn't a bad day. We did lots of exploring. I thought it wasn't gonna turn out like a good day at first because I didn't have any signal at the first spot. Crippled me from moving around and all that stuff. Wanted to find new spots, but thankfully once we walked far enough after we caught some of those darters where we're at, we did find some signal. We were able to get our maps up and running and go to those new spots, which resulted in at least one new species, which was the river chub. That one I know for sure is a river chub. I have no questions about that. But there are some other fish we still have to identify, so I'm going to reach out to some people and try and get answers on those. I'll have all the correct identifications down at the bottom of the screen. Once you see the fish come across the video, those will all be correct identifications. So maybe there will be a new species amongst that, but I didn't see any strong indications that there would be. Maybe one, but that would be it. Found some other species that I do not have on my life list that we did not get to land today. I saw a Chesapeake log perch at the first spot we fished today. I spooked it and it went actually under the rock that I was standing on, and I tried to get a bait in front of it to get it out of there, and I ended up stepping on the stick that was underneath that rock, which then spooked the log perch and it took off upstream and I wasn't able to track it down. And then we also did see some northern hogsucker today, which is a species I do not have on my life list yet, but it continues to elude me. Those we can find local, so it's not something I'm too pressed about that we didn't catch here, but it would have been a nice addition if we could have caught it. But it is what it is. I'll probably be back in this watershed at some point. I plan to fish some saltwater over in New Jersey before the summer's over. So if we get around to doing that and we still have some days off left for the summer that the weather's going to be good for, I might venture back down to this area again and maybe fish a different creek and see what comes up. But I do have some other places freshwater in New Jersey that I want to hit too. So a whole lot of species hunting this summer, at the end of this summer, that we're going to try and do. Hopefully it'll pan out, but we are at least got one new one for the day. So we're at 79, one away from 80. Caught a bunch of species. Good day all in all. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. As always, the gear I used will be listed in the description below. So if you're curious as to what I was using and want to know more about this whole microfishing thing that I've been doing, be sure to look at my description. I have all the stuff that I was using listed in there. But other than that, I will see you guys on the next episode of the Ville Outdoors.